I want to start off by saying that this is not the first system this week. It's actually the second system for this region. The snowfall from the last storm that happened on Tuesday and Wednesday, as you can see from the brilliant colors on this map, it's really showing the snowfall totals from those 2 days. Not to be too specific, but especially north of St. Lawrence, throughout just north of Montreal, north of Quebec, into the lower North Shore, we got amounts of up to 30 to 50 centimeters of snow from this last storm. Back to Ontario, much less snow, especially in Toronto because of the rain that came in to melt the snow. And the areas with most snow from Tuesday and Wednesday was really around Lake Nipissing with up to 20 centimeters of snow. Next slide, please. Here is a satellite imagery of the half of the continent. And really, we're talking about the system that is slowly edging its way into Ontario and Quebec. It's already affecting much of the Midwest and much of the southern US as well. And when we look at weather, we look at what's upstream. And upstream, this is what's happening. And it will be happening to our areas as well. Next slide, please. So here are some of the weather alerts in effect. You can see that we do have a snowfall warning for southern Quebec, for Montreal. We do have a winter storm warning from Ottawa, north of the Ottawa Valley, including the Ottawa Valley back towards Lake Huron, parts north of Toronto. We also have special weather statements from Quebec City all the way to far eastern Quebec. And we still have a winter weather travel advisory for areas along the shores of Lake Ontario towards London, and also for areas in northeastern Ontario, including Timmins. Now, these alerts will change as the weather system evolves. So please check weather information where you can, we'll talk about where you can check the weather information in a little bit. Next slide, please. Here's a look at the forecast. For Ontario, it's really a split between 2 days because the system is arriving very soon. As you can see, for areas just around Toronto, we're talking about 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. And if we're talking about areas just outside, just near Lake Huron, we're talking about up to 25 centimeters of snow today plus tomorrow. Ottawa, you're not going to get into the snow until really on Saturday. And we're talking about up to 25 centimeters of snow. And in areas upstream of you, up to 30 centimeters of snow. In Montreal, you will also be getting snow, but that will come Saturday, very, very early in the morning. And the snow will start. And we're talking about up to 25 centimeters of snow as well. Next slide, please. I know I talked ahead, but if we're talking about snowfall totals in Quebec City, up to 30 centimeters of snow. Something to keep in mind for Saturday in Quebec is the storm surge that will be happening, especially for Quebec City and also over lower St. Lawrence. And, we've talked about how it's, in the last storm, there were areas under coastal flooding, and the same thing will be happening with this storm. So we really advise you to check your local forecast to ensure that you are prepared for it. And it's not just about the snow, it's not just about the storm surge, but it's also about the winds, because the winds will be howling quite greatly, quite fiercely, and it will be gusting possibly up to 100 kilometers per hour in some places on Saturday, including Saturday night. Next slide, please. So the onset of the system, I know we didn't include the images for this afternoon, but it's slowly happening in southwestern Ontario. Late afternoon, that's when it's going to affect southwestern Ontario. And slowly by this evening, it will also affect the greater Golden Horseshoe area. As we head into midnight, it will also affect Ottawa, Montreal, and back towards much of northeastern Ontario. Next slide, please. Saturday morning, you're in the thick of it in southern Quebec, still snowing in Montreal, and slowly it will be working its way Saturday morning to Quebec City. Back in southwestern Ontario and greater Golden Horseshoe, some of that warm air from the system might come in to melt the snow a little bit, but it's only very little bit. And as we move ahead into Saturday afternoon, cold air sweeps in behind the system, and we see that snow will once again come back for southern Ontario, but it will be also easing from east to west. Still snowing for Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City. Next slide, please. Saturday evening, really winding down for southern Ontario. However, the winds will be picking up during the day on Saturday, so something to be mindful of with freshly fallen snow. As we move into Quebec, that snow line is going to continue to move east into eastern Quebec, the lower North Shore. And as we head into Sunday overnight, it will continue to move its way eastward. And also, just to say something about Atlantic Canada, the system is not only affecting Ontario and Quebec, it will also affect Atlantic Canada as well. Next slide, please. On Sunday, it really winds down for everywhere for southern Ontario, except if you're really on the east side of the Great Lakes, because the winds are coming out of the northwest and west. This means, combined with the cold air, it's lake effect snow. Snow is also winding down, so a much better day on Sunday for southern Quebec for the Ottawa Valley, but you will get into flurries and winds will still be quite moderate at this time. As we head into Sunday afternoon, I should say, lake effect still going on for much of the Great Lakes, Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, Lake Erie, and also Lake Ontario. Next slide, please. Just in summary, another winter storm moves across Ontario and Quebec this evening into Sunday. Snow will be particularly heavy in the corridor between the Lake Huron and the lower North Shore in Quebec and parts of the Gaspé Peninsula. These same areas receive the greatest amounts of snow on Wednesday. Snow will be accompanied by strong winds causing reduced visibility, especially near Quebec City and in the snow squalls area near the Great Lakes behind the storm, starting Saturday evening. Snowfall rates of up to 5 centimeters per hour possible in places during the worst of the storm, making roads very, very hazardous. Storm surge could occur in the same places as in the last storm. That includes Quebec City, the Saguenay, southeastern portions of the Gaspé Peninsula, albeit less intense this time in the Gaspé Peninsula. Again, snow squalls beginning Saturday night east of the Great Lakes behind the weather system. Be careful of the whiteout conditions. And that concludes the presentation in English. And here's where to find your weather information. You can look for our weather information on the WeatherCan app. That's available on Android and Apple. You can also check out our website, canada.ca/weather. We are also on social media, ECCC Weather on Twitter, ECCC Weather, plus the acronym of the province, Facebook as well. And also you can reach us through Hello Weather to get information through our telephone system, automated telephone system to get the forecast, and also we are available on weather radios and check whether it's available in your area.